Welcome into Teal the Show, a bye-week edition. No Jaguars football this weekend, so instead we'll spend our time here tonight looking at what's already happened so far this season. Then Monday, maybe we'll look at the rest of the way. We got Kyle hanging out with us tonight. Kyle, look, it's been a fun so far. I mean, even if the last 2 weeks haven't been as fun. Jaguars are 4-3, though, and I don't think a lot of people saw them being 4-3 when the bye week got here. I know I didn't have them at that record.
No, I mean, it's definitely a good position to be in. It is kind of a bummer because we are going to kind of talk about what we've seen so far, and since the recency hasn't been the best, it does kind of put a little bummer on things. But hey, there's a whole lot more to go. I just don't know how we made it through the offseason. Like this one bye week, I'm like, can we get to the next week so we can just have some more games? Because it's hard. It's hard.
The offseason has a lot of milestones along the way. There was a lot of hype, especially when you got a coaching search, which hopefully, I don't think the Jaguars are going to have to worry about that for a while because hopefully Liam Cohen will be here for a long time. But it's been a fun start to the season. The last 2 weeks haven't been great, but I think there's a lot of good that maybe is getting lost in the wash. I know there's been a whole lot of conversation around Jaguars fans right now since those last 2 weeks haven't been the greatest. But look, 4-3. Remember, 4-3. And this isn't like silver lining. This is the team is 4-3, and no one expected them to be 4-3 right now. So, look, you know the expectations went through the roof when you beat the Chiefs. But maybe you came back to reality a little bit against the Seahawks and the Rams. But those are two really good football teams. So 4-3 is 4-3, and now they got a week to fix it. So we'll see what's happening next as we kind of look forward. But all right, Kyle, what you got? So we'll talk a little bit about what's already happened this year, right?
Yeah, so look, I was thinking we'd do a little like maybe some mid-season awards since we're at the bye week. So just trying to see where we've gotten so far, see where you're at. So we'll start here with this first one. If you had to give a mid-season MVP.
A mid-season MVP
to any Jaguar player. Any Jaguar player on the team, who would it be?
That one's tough. Devin Lloyd, though. I think Devin Lloyd has made the big plays for that Jaguars. The best football of his career. I don't think it's a coincidence that the last 2 games he's been sidelined some, and all of a sudden the Jaguars defense hasn't quite looked as dynamic without him. Look, Devin Lloyd is a guy that there's been a lot of conversation about since he was drafted, and he had some highs. His first month, he was AFC Rookie Defensive Player of the Month. And then the wheels started to kind of come off, and he was exposed a little bit. And then now, contract year, he shows up, and he's playing some of the best football of his life. He was the AFC Defensive Player of the Month for the NFL. A calf injury sidelined him, doesn't make the trip to London. He missed most of the Seattle Seahawks game, and that Jaguars defense looks like they missed Devin Lloyd because he has been making some big plays for the Jaguars this season. I mean, he's near the league lead in interceptions at linebacker. So I think right now, Devin Lloyd's probably your MVP of the team at this point so far this season.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I went ahead and thought who I thought you were going to pick for these, and that's who I figured. There's really no one else that comes close to that. Maybe Jordan Lewis, but he's more of a – we have another one on here I feel like you might pick him for.
If I was going offensive and defensive, I'd probably do Devin Lloyd for defense. Offense, I'd probably go Robert Hainsey.
Okay, well, I was just about to ask you offense, so that works out. So Robert Hainsey would be the offense. And that's funny because that's who I was thinking as well.
I'm going to have to throw you a curveball at some point. But, I'd say Robert Hainsey. Look, I think Hainsey's been a great addition. I think the leadership he brings in the locker room has meant a lot. I mean, his play on the field has been stellar as well, even if I think the rookie got a little bit of a hard task, and I think Jonah Monheim played fine, but I think Robert Hainsey has been really good for this offensive line. Maybe a calming presence for the offense overall, a calming presence for Trevor Lawrence out there. So I think Robert Hainsey has been a big addition on that Jaguars offense, and probably one of the most consistent guys they've had, because the offense is where it's kind of rocky. I feel like the most, right?
Yes, no, the offense has been a little rocky. They've also gotten kind of away from the run game. I feel like Hainsey has helped a lot in that department too. So he's a lot better than I expected. I'll say that right off the bat. I'm not normally known for knowing a lot of the offensive linemen and how good they're doing, but he's noticeable. And when he's noticeable not doing a hold or a false start, that means he's playing pretty good. Yeah,
Hainsey's been getting up and down the football field. I think he's played a lot of really good football for that Jaguars offense. I think he means a lot to this team. I mean, that was a big get by Liam Cohen and James Gladstone to be able to bring him here to Jacksonville, and I don't think we maybe knew it at the time. And now he gets out there on the football field and you can see it.
And I think him actually knowing Liam Cohen from Tampa Bay and that stuff and that relationship definitely helped how it's progressed in Jacksonville.
Already knows most of the offense.
Okay, let's go to this next one here. This one, who's been the biggest surprise? And it could be good or bad.
Biggest surprise. Can I give you a good and a bad?
That's perfect.
Okay.
I want you to give me good and bad.
All right, biggest surprise, good Brenton Strange. Going into the year, I think there was a question mark at tight end, and Brenton Strange went out there, and before he got hurt, he was the Jaguars' most consistent and probably best player on offense. I mean, week in and week out. At the very least, when he's not catching passes, he's a dominant run blocker, and he was their most consistent pass catcher. Look, Brenton Strange, there were question marks because he hadn't been a full-time starter. He had seen the flashes. I don't know if you can put anything besides surprise. He was on pace to probably have a 1,000-yard season, so we'll see what he can get to when he gets back out on the football field. But Brenton Strange was my big positive surprise. The negative surprise stays on offense too, though. Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, that's not good. The drops have been a problem. That's not the expectation of what people had going into the season for him, and the reality, it just hasn't been good. I think he'll tell you that. I think Liam Cohen said it. They got to figure it out of how to fix it or where they can try and help Brian to be better, whether it's an injury thing, whether it's an offense thing, whether it's a Trevor Lawrence thing. I mean, I think the biggest disappointment, though, is Brian, because the expectations for him after the rookie year, I mean, they were so sky high to now the reality of these repeated drops week in and week out. The Jaguars lead the league in drops, and it's not close, and a large majority of those have come from Brian Thomas, which you never want to say your wide receiver one is the one that's leading the team in drops.
I mean, in crucial times in the game, too. Third down, big plays, like something has to change. I don't know. And speaking of something have to change, we'll ask you that coming up. But this last one here, real quick, this is just the unsung hero.
The unsung hero.
Yeah, maybe someone who wasn't expected to do as good, who has played better than people might have thought.
An unsung hero for the Jaguars this season. Oh, man. Okay, two guys come to mind.
Okay.
Both of them are on offense, and I think it's a close tie for both of them. So one of them is Parker Washington. We talked about Parker Washington throughout training camp, had a fantastic training camp, and he's made some big plays and definitely played a bigger role on the offense than I think a lot of people expected him to going into the season, right? So I'd say Parker Washington is one of those unsung heroes. I mean, the flashy plays. If it wasn't for a phantom block in the back call, he'd have 2 punt returns for touchdowns at this point. So Parker Washington. The other one is LaQuint Allen. The 7th-round pick, not normally the guy that you expect to earn snaps right away, but LaQuint Allen has been absolutely fantastic in those passing situations. He's a great pass blocker. He's made some big-time plays for the Jaguars so far this season. So I'd say those are your two kind of unsung heroes. A lot of times people don't give the flowers for the running back that comes in to pass block, right?
No.
It's the guys that score touchdowns, and right now LaQuint's playing his role. He hasn't been necessarily gotten the ball put in his hands a ton, but when he has, he's taking advantage of those opportunities. But he's doing the dirty work back there, and I know Trevor Lawrence definitely appreciates it.
Hey, Coach Cohen says it takes all 11, and pass protection is definitely crucial to their success. So I think that's a great answer. I think both of those, you could go either way. I like them. Hey. I'm good with them. I think those are some pretty good awards so far. Hopefully they get even better.
Hey, because we got a whole half of a season left. All right, so we'll talk more about the Jags. We got to talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Canton's calling somebody. Right now they have their list of candidates for this upcoming Pro Football Hall of Fame. Class 2 Jaguars are on the list, so we'll talk about Jimmy Smith and Fred Taylor coming up later in Teal the Show right after this quick break. All right, welcome back here into Teal the Show. Jaguars in the middle of the bye week. We've already given out our I guess, mid-season awards, so now we got a little bit more ground to cover. All right, Kyle, what else you got?
All right, so this is just one quick question here. If during the bye week, if the Jaguars could work on fixing or improving one aspect that's kind of hurt them in these games that they've lost so far, what would you focus on?
You know, that's tough because there's a lot of different ways you could go, right? I think the drop passes would be one that you talk about. I think a lot of people are sitting there saying that or thinking that. I would say penalties are probably near the top of the list. But if I had to go one place, I'd go to the slow starts. Look, the slow starts for this Jaguars team, especially on the offensive side, have been stuff we've talked about long before Liam Cohen got here. And at this point, we're still talking about it. This team gets out of the gates. It takes them a second to kind of get going. You can even think back to the games they've won. Kansas City Chiefs, they find themselves in a 14-point hole, and then, They wake up, and then they get to roll. They got to get going at the beginning of the game. So Liam Cohen clearly wants to do that. So a lot of coaches like to defer to the second half. Every time the Jaguars have won the coin toss, Liam Cohen says, give me the ball, because he wants to start with a lead. The problem is the offense isn't doing that. So the slow starts are a big problem that honestly we haven't spent enough time talking about because, well, in some of the weeks it's just made for a fun comeback like against Kansas City, and then other weeks it's overshadowed by some of the penalties and the drops. But if they can get out there and get rolling early, all of a sudden some of that stuff doesn't become as crucial, because then you're playing with the lead, it's easier to run the football. You're playing with the lead, and if you can run the football, then the guys can't drop passes because you're running the football. And the Jaguars actually have been a pretty good team running the football outside the last 2 weeks when they've fallen behind. So if I had to pick one thing, I would say start fast. They got to get rolling. This has been a problem for this team. It was a problem under Doug, and it's a problem now, and they got to figure out what it's going to take that when the kickoff happens, the Jaguars' offense is ready to put points on the board on their opening drive. Yeah,
I mean, starting fast, that is crucial. Definitely, it'd be good to see them getting a nice little rhythm on that first drive, go down the field, whether it's 3 or a touchdown, just some consistent play so that they feel like, okay, we can do this, instead of, like you said, being down, and then it's like, okay, now we have to make this play in order to stay in the ball game. So I can get behind faster starts.
It's easier to play with the lead than having to play comeback football. Even against the Panthers, they didn't exactly get off to this quick start in the game. So I think the Jaguars got to get rolling. They got to figure out how to get it going early in the first quarter.
All right, we do have one more thing to talk about here. You mentioned it before we went to the last break, the Hall of Fame nominations, 2 Jaguars.
That's right, yeah, look, so right now, the ballots are out, so here they have a bunch of players that have been nominated, including Jimmy Smith and Fred Taylor. Now, Fred has been a finalist for the past few years, and I am notably on the soapbox that Fred Taylor needs to be in the Hall of Fame sooner rather than later. Like, it's past time. Like, get this guy in the Hall. I don't know what else you got to do. But I think we got to start having a little bit of a stronger conversation about Jimmy Smith, because Jimmy Smith had an absolutely fantastic career. To this day, he has the 8th most receiving yards in a single football game in NFL history. 8th. His came against the 2000 Ravens defense. Nobody else did that against the 2000 Ravens. If you needed any other reason to plant your flag on this guy, I mean, look at that. Look, the 2000 Ravens defense goes down as one of the greatest defenses in NFL history, and this guy went out and had one of the best days in NFL history against them. That's not the only stat next to his name, but that's a pretty good one, I'd say, if you need a reason to plant the flag to at least start getting the ball rolling on this guy. Fred's been a finalist. I think he'll be a finalist again this year. Hopefully this is the year he finally gets into the Hall, and I think we need to start pushing Jimmy Smith along, because it's been too long for both of these guys. It's time to get some more Jaguars in Canton, Ohio.
I agree with you. It has. I would love nothing more for them to join Tony. I think that probably had they not been Jaguars and they played for maybe a more well-known team, they might already be in there, just saying. Yeah. But I will say I'm not old enough to remember all of their plays, but whenever I've seen their highlights, they're scoring touchdowns. They're making, if I think about old Jaguar plays, it has one of these 2 players in it. So I definitely think that, you know, they should get recognized for that.
If it's not for the Titans and they go on to the Super Bowl, both of them are probably in Canton, Ohio. I mean, they both scored a ton of touchdowns in their career. 6-7 for Jimmy Smith, 67 career touchdowns for him. So, look, overall, both of these guys, I think, deserve to be in Canton, Ohio, along with Tony Boselli. Hopefully, it'll happen soon. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Look, Fred needs to be in the Hall. If another running back gets into the Pro Football Hall of Fame before Fred Taylor, I don't know what show it's going to be on Channel 4, but I'm absolutely going to have my head explode on air. It will absolutely happen. Just a matter of time. If another running back gets in before Fred, I'm going to lose it.
I don't vote, but they got my vote, so whatever that's worth.
Well, they've got my vote too, and I don't vote either. So we'll see if the voters overall agree with us. That'll pretty much do it for us here tonight at Teal the Show. We'll have another one of these come your way Monday and Friday night next week. The bye week's in the books. Jaguars are counting down to the Raiders, so we'll start talking about that next week. We appreciate you spending some of your Friday night with us here on Teal the Show. Hopefully, we'll see you back same time next week. Good night, everybody, and go Jags.